What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. We continue with our 2022 predictions. The Oklahoma Sooners are up next. Here are some of the predictions for Oklahoma. The FPI has them at 9.1 and 3.4, about a 50% chance to make it to the Big 12 championship game. So, a 9-3 regular season, somewhere in that range. Athlon has them at 9-3. The over-under, 9.5. So you got to take 9-3 or 10-2. Those would be the most likely records for Oklahoma. The over-unders are interesting in the Big 12. If you go through all the teams, I'm surprised by some of the numbers. I think Oklahoma's is right on the money. I do think this is a 9-3 or 10-2 type team. When you look at everything that they lost from last year, all the transfers, all the players that left, Lincoln Riley leaving, all of that gone, you could see why Oklahoma would take a big step back. But they also added some players in the transfer portal. And I think the difference for Oklahoma, what's going to determine Oklahoma's success, is how big of an impact Brent Venables can have on the defense. I think the offense is going to be okay. I think there's enough talent there. Dylan Gabriel's a proven quarterback. Maybe not. They may not have an offense as good as some of these Lincoln Riley offenses that they've had in recent years, but I think the offense will be fine. It'll be one of the better offenses in the Big 12. It's going to be about the defense. If Brent Venables can get this defense playing at a really high level, Oklahoma becomes a very dangerous team, maybe even a playoff contender. But if they don't really take a big step forward on defense and the offense does take a step back, you could see Oklahoma maybe having a down year this year, maybe an 8-4 type season. But to me, I think 9-3, 10-2, that's probably where it's going to be. Let's just go game by game and do our predictions. Here's the schedule for 2022. You see they were 11-2 last year. As bad of a year as it was, remember, they were 11-2. They were 11-2. They were right there, just outside of the Big 12 championship. Of course, Baylor and Oklahoma State, big surprise years for them, especially Baylor last year. But still, it was a good year for Oklahoma, as bad as it seemed, because they did play pretty poorly. I mean, some of those wins were games where you thought they were going to win a lot. They were going to win them a lot easier, and they did struggle. But the record at the end of the day, not bad at all, 11-2. Moving ahead to 2022, I think you get two easy wins there right out of the gate, UTEP and Kent State. And that's nice to have. It's nice to have a couple of easy games there when you've got a new coaching staff. You've got all these transfers, new faces. It'll be really good for them to get some rhythm in those first two games. Then they'll play Nebraska on September the 17th. This is going to be a tough game. I think it's a coin flip game, a game that could go either way. The game was close last year. I think Nebraska just got better. I think they'll be better than they were last season. Casey Thompson, of course, has seen this Oklahoma team before. That'll be an interesting dynamic there. And I think Oklahoma, again, it's all about their defense. What can Brent Venables do immediately to impact this defense? We'll see. But again, this is a coin flip game for me, a game that I think could go either way. Usually in that case, I'm going to pick the home team. So I'm going to go with Nebraska in this one. Definitely a winnable game for Oklahoma. One that I could see going either way. It should be a great game, but I'm going to go with the Cornhuskers in that one. They'll play Kansas State after that. This will be a home game for Oklahoma. Kansas State is, they seem to always give Oklahoma trouble for whatever reason. And this Kansas State team this year will be a veteran team. Should be a pretty good team. This will be a close game in my opinion. I think it's one that could really go either way, potentially. But home field advantage will be the difference. I think Oklahoma bounces back. They get the win over Kansas State. They improve to 3-1. They'll go on the road to face TCU next. TCU, I think, is going to be a sneaky good team in the Big 12. This is a road game. You have Texas the next week. A lot of things not really going in Oklahoma's favor here. I think it's potentially an upset alert game. Again, when I do these predictions, I say this in every video pretty much. I do my record for each team, and then I move the games around. This is one that they could lose, but it did work out for them to get a win here. So I'm going to say that they beat TCU on the road. Again, tough game. Should be a good one. Really, four tough games in a row. Nebraska, Kansas State, TCU, and Texas. That four-game stretch, we will know about Oklahoma after that four-game stretch. We will know if this team is a playoff contender or if they're going to have a bad year. Again, pretty quick there. Texas coming up next on October the 8th. This is always a great game. Of course, the rivalry should be a good one this year. It should be a really good game. I think it'll be a shootout. I do think, again, Oklahoma's defense is going to be better with Brent Venables, but I think Texas has the type of offense that is going to be able to score some points. So I think this will turn into a shootout, a game that will come down to the wire, and it's kind of like the Nebraska game. Flip a coin. I could see it going either way. I think Texas. I'm going to go with Texas. That's just how it worked out. Going to go with the Longhorns to get this win. But like I said, flip a coin, could go either way. They play Kansas after that on October the 15th. Kansas actually has a lot of production coming back this year. I think they're going to be better than people think. They're not going to be the old Kansas that's just absolutely terrible. And we saw some glimpses last year of them maybe starting to get a little bit better, but not this game. Oklahoma wins big at home, and they improve to 5-2. I believe, if I remember correctly, the Kansas-Oklahoma game was pretty close for a while last year. So, again, Kansas making some strides, but I think Oklahoma, they bounce back after the loss to Texas. They play well in this one. They get the win. Iowa State, tough place to play. They're going to go on the road for this one, but they get a bye week after Kansas. I think they'll be focused. They'll be ready for Iowa State. And I don't expect a whole lot from the Cyclones this year. I know I hyped them up last year, thought they were going to be a top 10 team. That was obviously way off the mark, and now they've lost a lot from that team. I think Oklahoma wins that one, and they take care of business there. All right, here's the game that I think Oklahoma has circled. It's Baylor wanting revenge in this one. I'm sure it's going to be a great matchup. Home game for Oklahoma, game that could go either way. Home field advantage does make the difference here for my prediction. I'm going to say that Oklahoma beats Baylor. They get their revenge. They come in really focused for this one. They might not even be a close game. This one may be one of those games you think it's going to be a huge game, a close game, and they come in there laser focused. It's a revenge game, and they knock off Baylor, especially if Baylor is ranked really high and potentially favored in this game. We'll see how all that plays out. But West Virginia comes up next. This is just, when I talked about TCU being a trap game, an upset alert game, West Virginia, big time. Right in between Baylor and Oklahoma State. Two huge games for Oklahoma. It's on the road, tough place to play in November. It's probably going to be cold. And West Virginia, they've got enough this year with JT Daniels at quarterback and some of the other transfers. They did a nice job in the transfer portal. Very quietly. They didn't get a lot of big names, but they did a good job filling in some holes if you kind of go look at what they did in the transfer portal. I think that they've got enough to win this game. I'm going to say this will be an upset. West Virginia knocks off Oklahoma. They give them their third loss. If it's not West Virginia, I think it might be TCU. I think they will lose one of those two games. I'm going to go with West Virginia. They'll play Oklahoma State after that. And I think it's one where they're, again, laser focused like that Baylor game. They're angry after a loss to West Virginia. They're playing at home. I like Oklahoma to get this win over Oklahoma State in Bedlam, but I think it will be great. It'll be a great game. This is usually a good game. I think this year will be one of the better ones. I'm going to go with the Sooners. And that one, again, should be a good one. They finish up with Texas Tech on the road to close out the regular season. Texas Tech will be a pretty good team, but not good enough. I think Oklahoma is just the better team, the more talented team, the deeper team. Even on the road, I think they will find a way to get it done. They beat Texas Tech. They finished the season 9-3. Again, I think they will lose to either TCU or West Virginia, so I'm giving them one loss there. Perhaps they beat Nebraska or Texas and they get to 10-2, but I'm like right there on that line. 9-3 or 10-2 for Oklahoma. That is my prediction for 2022.